Dave Armstrong is an area director with Man in the Mirror, serving the Greater Philadelphia North Coalition for Men's Discipleship. Born and raised in Massachusetts, David moved to Pennsylvania in 1980 to attend Biblical Theological Seminary. Upon graduation, he pastored for 18 years, serving 2 churches. David's involvement in men's discipleship is not the result of his successes as a man, but rather as a result of his failures. Unfaithfulness to his marriage vows cost him his ministry and ultimately his marriage. What ensued were several years of wandering in the wilderness until God pursued and caught him. Overwhelmed by God's grace and love, David came back to Christ, where he has enjoyed a renewed relationship with his Lord and Savior. In 2012, the Lord led him to serve with Man in the Mirror to help other men avoid similar pitfalls and experience a walk with Jesus. David enjoys baseball and running, as he says, okay, jogging. He remarried 5 years ago, this July, to a loving and supportive woman, Becky. He lives in Sellersville, Pennsylvania, and has 5 children and 3 grandchildren. Where's Dave? There he is. Please welcome Dave Armstrong.
All right, thank you very much. Good to be with you here this morning. Delighted to be able to share with you about Man in the Mirror. Asked to bring a video, and if we could play that right now.
I'm standing on a site near Lake City, Florida, where one of the Civil War's bloodiest battles took place. Here, in 1864, Confederate forces fought against Union soldiers in the Battle of Olustee. The fight only lasted 4 hours, but when it was over, nearly 3,000 men lay dead on this very field. Now, these were real men with real families. To look at this tranquil setting today, it's difficult to imagine the devastation that took place right here, but it did. Today, our nation is again fighting an internal war, one that makes the devastation that took place here pale in comparison. We call it the battle for men's souls. This battle is raging out of control in neighborhoods across America, your neighborhood. Think for a moment about the casualties taking place on your street, where you work, even your church. Men leave, women weep, a little 12-year-old girl prays, God, why is my daddy so angry? This is a real battle. These also are real men with real families. The staff and directors of Man in the Mirror and I invite you to join us as we reveal the heartbeat of our ministry to engage every man in America with a credible offer of Jesus Christ and the resources to grow. This is a battle we can win. We cannot, we must not, and by God's grace, we will not fail. We invite you to join us.
All right, well, Man in the Mirror is involved in the battle for men's souls, and I'm excited to be able to share with you for a few moments what that entails. If we can go to the next slide. I'm excited about it. This is dangerous, put this in my hands. I have no idea what I'm doing with this thing. But one of the reasons I'm excited about it is because my own journey as a broken man who came to Christ and experienced God's grace and forgiveness and healing. But the battle for men's souls is important because when a man gets his life right with Jesus Christ, it not just impacts him, but it impacts a marriage, it impacts a family, it impacts children, grandchildren, impacts generations. And these are my 3 grandchildren. On left to right, it's Jordan, Grace, and Charity. And I want to leave a godly legacy for them. And I want to help other men to do the same thing for their families to make a difference in their lives. Now, I want to begin by telling you a story. I'm not sure which button to push here. Try that one. No? Yeah, there it is. I don't know how I got there, but okay. Nevertheless, how many of you have had the wonderful privilege and opportunity of having one of your children learn to drive an automobile? Right? Pretty much universal, isn't it? I mean, that's an awesome experience. Nothing will bring you closer to Jesus Christ and deepen your prayer life than to have one of your members of your own family, flesh and blood, who just seemingly a few years before was just learning to ride a bicycle, now gets behind the wheel of a 2,000-pound automobile and hurtling down a highway at 65 miles per hour. Well, about 2 years ago, our youngest daughter, and I won't mention her name because I don't want to embarrass her, but around the house we call her Megan. She got a driver's license. And she did the permit thing, the driving thing, and she thought she was ready for the driver's test, and my wife thought she was ready for the driver's test, and me, not so much. But I was outnumbered 2-1. So I resorted to prayer. And my prayer was like, Lord, help her to fail the test. God answered that prayer. Twice. Now, I don't know what happened the 3rd time, because she didn't get her driver's license. But I had that feeling, knowing in my heart of hearts that it wouldn't be too long before we got the phone call that she had been in an accident. So at that point, my prayer was, Lord, let it come quickly. Don't drag out the agony for me here, and then let it not be anything serious. Well, sure enough, about 2 months after she gets her license, my wife and I are relaxing on a Sunday evening, and my wife's cell phone rings, ring ding. And it's Megan, and she's been in an accident. And everything was fine, she wasn't hurt, nobody else was hurt. Police officer was still there filling out the report. She was only about 15, 20 minutes away from the house. I said, you know what, we'll jump in the car, we'll go down there, just make sure she's okay, the car's okay, etc. And on the way down, my wife still continues to talk to Megan on the cell phone and getting information. As she gets the information, she's passing it on to me. And one of the pieces of information that she passes on is it was really foggy. And she said, I had a hard time seeing. Matter of fact, I even put the windshield wipers on, hoping that would help make a difference, and it didn't. And there was a car that stopped in front of me, and I didn't see it until it was too late, and I rear-ended it. Now, I'm processing all that information. There's a lot of things going through my mind, which I will not share with you right here. But one of the things that struck me was, okay, it's dark, it had been a drizzly, kind of dreary day, but there was no fog where I was at. But I said, you know what, maybe down there there's fog. So we get down to the accident scene, everybody in the other car is fine, she's fine, she hit her head, and she was complaining about that a little bit. You know, minor damage on the vehicles. My wife, you know, who's the nurturing mother, has to take her, daughter to the emergency room to get it checked out. So I said, fine, you go do that. Take my car. I will drive the car that Megan was driving, which is my wife's car, and I'll just make sure it's okay, take it home, blah, blah, blah. Hop in the car, turn it on. First thing I notice is I have a hard time seeing out the windshield. Now, there's no fog down there, but I'm having a hard time seeing out the windshield. And I turn on the defroster, click on the fan, and in about 2 seconds it clears up. And that's when it dawns on me. That was the fog that Megan was talking about. So I get back on the phone and talking about it, saying, when you get the opportunity, ask our daughter if she turned on the defroster at any time. And the response that came back from Megan was, what's a defroster? Now, the reason I tell you that story is, for one, it has a personal cathartic value to me. It helps me work through this whole thing. But the reason I want to tell you is this. Megan thought she had a problem on the outside, when in reality she had a problem on the inside. She tried to solve an inside problem with an outside solution, putting on the windshield wipers. And is it any wonder that she got into an accident? And the application of that is this. We have a lot of men walking around in our society, walking around in your churches today, who are walking around in a fog, who think they have a problem on the outside, when in reality they have a problem on the inside. And they're trying to solve an inside problem with outside solutions. It isn't any wonder that they're destroying, creating havoc with their lives, wrecking their lives, and causing all kinds of collateral damage as a result of that. You see, we have a man problem in our society today. We have men who are lonely, who are isolated, who are afraid. Many of them are failing in their roles as husbands and fathers. We have men who don't quite understand what their purpose is in life. They don't know that they really make a difference. In addition to that, we have a lot of men walking around who are angry. Men who have themselves involved in sexual addiction, workaholism, alcoholism, materialism, emotionally disconnected from their kids, from their families. And if we step back and look at the larger picture, we've got 69 million men in America who have never made a profession of faith in Jesus Christ. I gotta go to the next slide. I don't know how we did that. I have no idea. Help me out, please.
Hit the right button, the right arrow.
Here, okay, that's simple. Follow the arrows. We have 69 million that make no profession of faith in Jesus Christ. Think about that. We've got 1/3 of the children who are going to go to bed tonight who do not have a biological father in the home. 93 million people, or 93% of those who are incarcerated in our prison system, are males. And 85% of those do not have a father figure. And we've got 1/3 of children who are born in America today who are born to unmarried women. Where are the men? Where are the husbands? Where are the fathers? And if you think it's just a problem out there and not a problem in our churches, well, you've got another thing coming. Because the survey revealed this: for every 10 men in the church, all 10 struggle balancing work and family. 9 of those men are going to see at least one of their kids walk away from the faith, walk away from church. 8 out of 10 are not going to find their job satisfying. 6 out of 10 are only going to pay the monthly minimum on their credit card bills. 5 out of 10 men in the average church are going to have a major problem with pornography. Potentially half of the men in this room. 4 out of 10 men are going to get a divorce impacting the lives of 1 million kids a year. And only 1 out of every 10 men in the average church is going to live out his life according to a biblical world view. Houston, we have a problem. Now, we compound that problem. And all of those stats, all those figures that I gave you, all of those things are symptoms of a bigger problem. And we compound that problem when we want to focus on the outside of a man, the externals, rather than the inside of a man. When we simply want to tweak his behavior, when we want him to act just a little nicer, come to church a little more often, speak a little more kindly to his wife, engage a little more frequently with his kids, not kick the dog quite as much when he comes home from a bad day at work. We simply want to focus on the externals rather than the internals. It doesn't work that way. As a matter of fact, we're simply taking a man from one performance culture of the world and bringing him into another performance culture, and that is the church. Now, we need to treat the symptoms. We need to deal with fatherlessness. We need to deal with unwed moms and help them and minister to them. We need to deal with all the collateral damage that has been caused and is being caused by men who are failing to be the men that God created and designed them to be. But we better make sure that we're also treating the problem. Because if we don't do that, it's like putting a Band-Aid on cancer. Not going to solve anything. It's only going to get worse and it's going to spread. If we don't treat the inside of a man as opposed to the outside of a man, it's like trying to tape apples onto orange trees hoping you're going to get an apple tree. And all you're going to get is spoiled fruit. So what's the solution? The solution to the problem is something that Jesus gave us nearly 2,000 years ago, when he said, go into all the world and make disciples of every nation. When we can bring a man to Jesus Christ, when we can help him in his walk with God, to develop his relationship with Jesus Christ, that is a life-transforming, life-changing thing from the inside out. That's heart transformation, not behavior modification. That's changing the core affections of a man's heart so that he'll love Jesus Christ, because God is concerned ultimately about the hearts of men. Samuel was going to anoint David in 1 Samuel 16, and God said to Samuel those familiar words, man looks on the outward appearance, God looks on the heart. That's what he's concerned about. When Jesus was asked what was the greatest commandment, amongst all those external things that those commandments talk about, Jesus said it's this: you love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your mind, all of your strength, and you love your neighbor as yourself. That's hard stuff. When Jesus confronted Peter after Peter denied him 3 times, Jesus' question to Peter wasn't, Peter, why did you deny me? His question was, Peter, do you love me? That's hard stuff. That's what God wants to do. That's what he wants to change. He wants to change our hearts. Jesus summed it up this way. Basically, it's a guideline for ministering to men. In Matthew 23, talking to the Pharisees, he said, woe to you teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You clean the outside of the cup and the dish, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisees! First clean the inside of the cup and dish, and then the outside will also be clean. You want to change a man's behavior? Let God change his heart. It starts from the inside out. So at Man in the Mirror, our vision is this: it's to help every church to disciple every man. We believe that is critically important. And we come alongside churches to serve pastors, to train leaders, and to help see their men transformed. We don't come alongside throwing a bunch of events and activities at guys. It's not about giving you another program to add to the other programs that you have in your church, of which you have too many to start with. It's not about providing you the ideal curriculum to disciple your men, because there's all kinds of good stuff out there today. What churches lack today in discipling their men, and what Man in the Mirror can provide, is we provide a strategy, a sustainable process by which you can help to create an environment in your church where Holy Spirit-led, life-on-life discipleship of men takes place. That's what we help you to do. We show you how you connect men together in discipleship, so that you can create disciple makers who in turn disciple others. We use what is called the No Man Left Behind model. And the No Man Left Behind model is what we've developed at Man in the Mirror as a result of working with 28,000 different churches over the last 28 years, observing churches that were successful at making disciples and observing churches that weren't. And the churches that were effective in creating male disciples in the long term, we learned some principles that we developed into a model called No Man Left Behind. And we help you to use that model to reach and disciple your men. We did a study, and churches that have used and implemented the model saw a 48% increase in the number of men who attended church and an 84% increase in the number of men who were involved in some kind of discipleship. Guys, ladies, discipling men is critically important. If your church is ready to do that, if you want to stop dealing with just the outside of a man and begin working on the inside, if you want to create that environment in your church where life-on-life discipleship of men takes place, stop by our table, talk to me today. I've got Steve Bosch. Steve, raise your hand there in the orange shirt. There it is. He's also an area director. He's from the state of Maryland. He came up today. Delighted to have him with us. We'd love to talk to you about that. Thank you so much, and may you just enjoy your time here in Philadelphia.